Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Tips and Tricks Weekly. I noticed that almost every time I do one of these videos, I'm wearing a red t-shirt. Total accident. I do have other colored t-shirts, but it does seem like every single video is a red t-shirt. So I'll have to make sure the next week we get a different color. But in any case, wanted to kind of cover a topic today that is somewhat near and dear to my heart, and a topic that I don't believe I've ever really talked about here on the show, and that is vlogging. And I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with vlogging over the last couple of years. I definitely have vlogged a number of my trips. But I mean, I don't really think of this channel primarily as a vlogging channel anymore. It's mostly sort of an advice channel, information, that kind of thing. But as I've been thinking about vlogging my trip coming up in September, which I may do, haven't completely decided, but good possibility. I started thinking about the whole idea of vlogging, and not in a sort of critical way of, should you vlog, shouldn't you vlog, that sort of thing, but just some thoughts about vlogging and some thoughts that might help you if you're thinking about vlogging any trip, really, but certainly a Vegas trip. Before I do, hey, if you're enjoying today's show, enjoying today's content, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit that like button, and comment with any thoughts you might have on this topic. I usually always get back to anyone with a sincere comment, so do that. It helps out the channel quite a bit. I know for most of us, a lot of us anyway, we think back to sort of the mid-2010s, I guess you would say, when we first became aware of people vlogging. And vlogging is not certainly limited to travel vlogs, excuse me. You can be vlogging any element of your life. But in this case, we're talking about travel vlogs, and I became aware that people did sort of travel vlogs. I saw some people, and I was, of course, immediately intrigued by anybody that was doing any kind of vlogging that involved Las Vegas or really any sort of casino destination. At the time, it was pretty unusual to see any video of anyone playing a machine. But I began to see some of that. And of course, one of the earliest people in the vlogging business, at least in the sense of doing these sort of complete trips, was Matt Bridger. I joke that I'm the last person to meet, will be the last person on the planet to meet Matt Bridger, but we've known each other for several years and have corresponded back and forth. And of course, Matt just finished an epic vlog about his trip across the United States, which of course ended with a big week, I guess, probably in Las Vegas itself. But I think a lot of us over the years have gotten the idea of vlogging from other YouTube channels. There may be some of you who got the idea to vlog your Vegas trip from watching one of mine. There are, I think, really two primary kinds of vlogs. And the first kind is the type that I have normally done, the type that Matt Bridger usually does, the type that my friend Mark Anderson, Pennies for Vegas, typically does. And that's what I like to call a live vlog. And with a live vlog, you're basically doing the vlog as it happens. So if you arrive in Las Vegas on Monday, you create the content that you're going to use for that vlog, and sometime probably Tuesday morning, you edit that content together and you upload it. So basically you're traveling right along with the person who's doing the vlog. You can kind of keep up with them on a day-to-day basis. Typically, a person will either record some sort of an introductory sort of talking heads kind of video or some kind of a finishing talking heads video to kind of sum up the day. The great advantage of these videos, and I myself really prefer watching these kinds of videos because, again, it gives you kind of a sense of being there. It also has more of a sort of cinema verite kind of thing. There's not as much time, I guess you would say, to do a lot of fancy edits. or record a ton of footage. So it tends to be, I know in my case, it tends to be kind of any footage that seems sort of useful or interesting, just sort of patched together. I certainly can't speak to the other people who do videos like that, but I think a lot of them use a similar technique. So it tends to be videos that you get done a lot faster. I mean, I'd have to ask some folks, but I know probably with me, putting together a video like that probably just takes about an hour or so in terms of editing together the pieces, etc. Of course, the great disadvantages of the live vlog is it typically is not as professional, it's not as impressive looking. And of course, it also occupies time that you could be spending doing something else in Las Vegas. Now, for me, I typically have downtime, at least early in the morning when I'm kind of just getting up and around, not necessarily doing anything special anyway. But for people that have a very jam-packed Vegas schedule, trying to fit in time to edit those vlogs can make that less desirable. Of course, the alternative is to record all this footage while you're in Las Vegas, and then after you return home, you sort of edit together, multiple parts. I mean, again, people tend to do it day by day because that's a good sort of way to create sort of chapters. But you can do it other ways. And we'll talk a little bit about different kinds of vlogs here in just a few minutes. But it certainly gives you an opportunity in that instance to really be very creative, to include a lot of bells and whistles to create a video that's very, very impressive. A lot of folks who do the live vlogs, myself included, are just recording on our phone. And then we're pulling that footage together on our phone or laptop and creating the video on the fly. A lot of these folks with expensive camera setups, they may be recording with that throughout, and it's not necessarily quite as simple a process to just put that together. For people that really enjoy the editing piece, clearly that is a big win here. And for folks that really want to produce a high quality product, not to say that you can't produce a good quality product on the fly, but it's certainly easier, and there's certainly a lot more techniques you can incorporate when you do it sort of after the trip. So if you're more of the sort of perfectionist type that really wants it to look really, really good, then maybe the best approach there is to wait until after you return home. Now, in addition to those sort of two styles of vlogging, there's a lot of different kinds of vlogs. Of course, some people have what I would call a very sort of eclectic vlog, and I would say I myself tend to be that way. It's kind of just moment to moment. If something seems interesting to me, I may record something about it. It could be slot play. It could be a meal I'm eating. It could be people that I'm spending time with, something interesting that I happen to see in and around the Strip. It doesn't have a specific theme. I know, for example, Matt does typically a lot of slot play. I don't do nearly as much of that. I don't think Mark does quite as much of that either generally. But I have done videos that are very heavily filled with slot play because that's what I happened to do that day, and there were bonuses or wins along the way that I thought were interesting, and I wanted to capture those for the show. Other people have much more specific kinds of vlogs, and they may focus, for example, just on the gambling piece of it. They may focus just on hotels, or the hotel stay, the hotel experience. They may focus primarily on eating in restaurants around the city. And that may be primarily what their vlogs are about. They might go to Vegas for 7 days, eat in 10 different restaurants, and either produce 10 different pieces talking about those individual restaurants, or potentially doing some sort of a compendium where they talk about their favorites, etc. Of course, anytime you vlog something, you can always cut pieces out of that and re-release that content as a short or a literal YouTube short, or one that is just a shorter video of 2 or 3 minutes. So you can incorporate your room video or your restaurant visit into a sort of eclectic vlog, and then you can pull out those pieces later on and sort of repurpose them. It's a great way to get sort of more mileage out of the same footage. I would say, regardless of what kind of vlog you do and where you do it, the thing that I think is most important is to have a lot of footage. I know sometimes I've been just absolutely, wow, this is going to be a terrible vlog because I just didn't record very much. The more footage you record, the more you can pick and choose the things that are interesting. Something that might seem interesting at the time may, when you look at it again, not be that interesting. So if you feel sort of, compelled to include it just to get a certain length of video or to try to tell the story a little better, it's not necessarily going to come out as well. I think the best vloggers in terms of, producing really good content are creating a lot of footage, whether it's on their phone or camera or whatever it might be. There are a lot of people out there vlogging right now. Some of you watching this are vlogging or are thinking about vlogging or have vlogged in the past. What I would say about it is make sure if you decide you want to vlog your trips or anything, that you're doing it for the right reason. Don't expect that because you become a Las Vegas vlogger that you're going to become a hugely successful YouTube star. Even the most successful Vegas-themed channels only have a few 100,000 subscribers. That may sound like a lot, but when you look at, I subscribe to several sort of food-related channels where, people try fast food, etc. Some of these have millions and millions of subscribers. So while you certainly might be able to eke out a decent living, or maybe a pretty good living, if you can hit a couple of 100,000, by comparison, you're not going to become really a YouTube celebrity by vlogging Las Vegas, or nobody's done it yet. So you should do it because you want to do it. And there's a number of reasons people may want to do it. You may want to do it just so that you have a video memory of your own to go back and look at. You may want to share that memory with friends and family. And just as a side note, you upload that content to YouTube and are able to share it with the broader community. You may want to use it, as I have in the past, to try to share information, whether it be about a hotel room, about a buffet, about a particular walkthrough in Las Vegas. Each and every one of those reasons are valid and are useful, but keep in mind there's a lot of people out there doing it. So the chances that you're going to rise to some sort of level of success, a lot of the people that have the tens of thousands of subscribers or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, for those folks, it's become, or maybe already was, in the process of being a full-time job. It's a lot easier to be a big-time Vegas vlogger when you live in Las Vegas or you visit every week than it is if you happen to visit a couple of times a year. So those are some things to consider. And again, the real test is, when you go to Las Vegas, if you're vlogging, if you feel like you're missing something because you're vlogging, you probably are. If you feel like it enhances your experience, that makes it a better time for you, and that you really enjoy going back and watching those videos, then by all means do so. But don't vlog because you feel like you have to. Don't vlog because you think it's going to make you rich or famous, because it probably isn't going to. Vlog because it's something that's interesting to you, and you may find some elements that you think are most interesting, whether it be restaurants or hotel rooms or just giving advice. And once you find that niche, then hey, that's a great opportunity to make your channel stand out in some particular way that may be a little different from everybody else's. If you have a YouTube channel, if you've vlogged your Las Vegas trips, I'd be interested in your feedback, of course, in the comments below. If you've thought about vlogging and haven't, what was the reasons that you chose not to? Again, be interested in hearing that in the comments below. I think next week we're probably going to do my sort of wrap up of all of my Vegas trips, if I can get all of the statistics pulled together. And of course, we'll be back on Wednesday with another one of our resort reviews. It's almost certainly going to be somewhere off strip, but where, to find out, you'll have to tune in. All right, until then, have a great week. I hope you have a great and lucky one and healthy one. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.